Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of being a single parent? You are not alone. Welcome to Single Parent Reset. I'm Orla, a life coach for single parents, and I'm here to help you feel calmer, more confident, and more in control of your journey. If you're new to the podcast, welcome along. And if you're a regular listener, as always, thank you so much for coming back. I hope your week is going well. For me, I am really enjoying the sunshine finally being here and getting some warmer weather and making things just a little bit easier and brighter for us. It's been so nice also to hear all the amazing feedback from the guest episode I had with Francesca Amber. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. And if you haven't listened, go back and have a listen. So, this week's episode. Do you ever find that something as small as a throwaway comment from a friend or even a Teams message from a colleague can just feel like the absolute final straw for you, and it can flip you into feeling completely dysregulated? Well, if this is you, I want you to know that you're not the only one that this happens to. Today, we are going to unpack a common challenge for many single parents, and that is emotional triggers. As a single parent, these moments, they can feel overwhelming, confusing, and sometimes even shameful. But these triggers, they are so normal, they're common and totally understandable. In this episode, we're going to look at why they happen and practical ways for you to respond so that you feel more in control. The pressure to remain emotionally solid when parenting alone can feel like a lot, and it doesn't need to be that way. So let's take a breath and reset together. So today we're talking about triggers, something that many single parents experience but don't always get a chance to unpack. A trigger is an emotional response to something that touches a past wound. It's not just about what's happening in the current moment. It's your nervous system remembering a past experience and sounding an alarm, even if the danger isn't the same. And for single parents, when we're managing so many responsibilities on our own, from work to running the household to looking after the kids, it is so easy for stress to build up. And that stress, it can make the triggers more frequent and more intense. Even small events like a sharp tone from your boss or a confusing message from a friend can feel overwhelming. And these triggers, they aren't weaknesses. What they are is signals from your body and your brain. And when we're triggered, our brain, it sends us into fight, flight, freeze or fall mode. You might feel angry, anxious, panicked, shut down or just completely numb. All of these completely natural responses. The key is learning to notice these triggers, soothe yourself in the moments, and respond intentionally rather than reacting automatically. And that is exactly what we're going to explore in today's episode. So let's look into some practical ways that you can actually work with your emotional triggers rather than letting them completely control you. The first thing you want to do is actually notice specifically what are the things that trigger you. What are the situations that set you off? It could be certain words that people use, certain ways that people behave, or even events. Things that consistently set off an emotional reaction for you. These are the triggers that you want to start to pinpoint. So take a moment to reflect on 2 or 3 things that often spark strong reactions for you. And right now, it's all about just identifying what the trigger is, not the feeling behind it. We'll get to that later. So, for example, imagine a friend is complaining about their partner not helping enough around the house. You might notice that even hearing about someone from a 2-parent household talk about their household responsibilities or parenting struggles can hit a nerve for you. To help you identify your specific triggers, you can ask yourself the following questions. What exactly happened that set me off? Was it a comment, a tone, a situation, or something else? Who or what tends to bring up this reaction for me? Are there certain patterns, for example, topics about parenting or talking about dating? Have I felt this reaction before in similar situations? Is this reaction tied to a specific context or environment? Recognizing these triggers is the first step to understanding your patterns and gives you clarity on what to focus on in the next step. Now you're beginning to map the triggers themselves, and that is essential for responding intentionally rather than reacting automatically. Once you've identified your triggers, be it communication from a co-parent, dealing with school communications, or finding the laundry basket full when you swear you only just did the laundry, the next step is to explore why they affect you. This isn't about judging yourself or trying to fix your feelings. It really is just about gaining insight into what's driving these reactions. We're uncovering the patterns, beliefs, and assumptions here that make certain situations feel really intense so that you can respond with awareness rather than automatically reacting. So I want you to ask yourself these questions in relation to one of your triggers that you've identified. What story am I telling myself in the moment? It could be I'm not doing enough, or I should have this under control. Then ask yourself what belief about myself or others is being challenged by this trigger. It could be that I'm not good enough parent when you find that your children being upset makes you upset. And then around this belief, we'll ask yourself, is this belief accurate, or could it be a pattern I learned from the past that no longer serves me? A lot of the time, we can hold on to old beliefs that we learned in our own childhoods or in our own past relationships that we no longer need to hold. And to help you bring some compassion to yourself, you can ask yourself, what would I tell a friend if they were thinking the same thought? And sometimes just thinking it from a different viewpoint can help. So ask yourself, how might seeing this situation differently reduce the intensity of the reaction? So, for example, if your children are upset, you can look at the situation for what it is. Perhaps your children are upset because they fell over and they got a fright. Them crying after falling over is not an indicator of you being a terrible parent. And a lot of the time when we're triggered, it's because some need is being unmet for us. So ask yourself, what needs am I trying to meet through my reaction? It could be safety, could be respect, could be control or recognition. Everyone's going to be different, but try and identify with this emotional reaction what need feels like it's not being met. So, for example, imagine a friend is complaining again about their partner not helping around the house. You might notice frustration rising. Reflecting deeper, you might uncover beliefs like other people don't understand how hard it is to have to do it all alone. I'm an awful person for being frustrated with a friend who is coming to me with their problems. Understanding these beliefs doesn't change what happened. It just gives you clarity about why this situation hits so hard for you. Recognizing these narratives and beliefs, well, it allows you to challenge them gently. And when you see the story behind the trigger, you're creating space to respond in a different way. This step is all about curiosity and self-awareness. It's not just about noticing the trigger itself, but it's mapping the beliefs, needs and patterns connected to it. And by exploring what stories you tell yourself, what assumptions you hold, and what unmet needs are being activated, you gain a deeper insight into your reactions. And this awareness, it gives you clarity and choice when it comes to step 3, which is all about deciding how to prevent triggers where possible or respond intentionally when they arise. Now that you've identified your triggers and explored why they affect you, the final step is deciding how to work with them. You have 2 approaches, reducing the triggers proactively and responding intentionally when they happen. So first of all, let's look at reducing and removing the triggers. So some triggers can be managed by changing our environments or setting boundaries. So for example, if certain conversations with a friend or family member always leave you feeling stressed, you might limit how often you engage or gently steer the conversation in a different direction. If household tasks are sparking frustration for you, look at delegating or sharing responsibilities where possible. And even small things like turning off notifications on your phone or scheduling time away from stressful topics can make a huge difference. What is key here is asking yourself, which triggers can I realistically reduce or remove? It isn't about avoiding life, it's about protecting your nervous system so that you can respond with more ease. And then there's responding intentionally when triggers do happen. Some triggers, we really just can't avoid them. It could be your children having a tantrum, a stressful work email, or just an unavoidable conversation with your co-parents. And that's where intentional responses come in. And here is a simple approach. First of all, you want to just pause and name it. When you feel triggered, say quietly to yourself, I'm triggered right now. And this helps your brain shift from automatic reaction to awareness. And then breathe. Slow, deep breaths will help calm you down and bring your nervous system back towards balance. Ground yourself. Notice your body and your surroundings and bring yourself back into the here and now. And from there, you can choose your response. Decide the kindest next step for yourself. It could be stepping away. It could be deciding to journal your thoughts on this later. It could be going for a short walk. These small steps of pausing to ground yourself first before reacting send a signal to your brain. That is, you are in control. And over time, this builds your strength and reduces the intensity of the triggers and helps you respond from a place of calm rather than reacting from chaos. So let's say your friend complains yet again about their partner not helping around the house. You notice your heart racing, your thoughts are like, oh, I'm already doing so much, how could she be talking about this? A proactive response here could be you might decide to limit how often you have these conversations or set a gentle boundary like, I hear you, but I can't give advice right now. And a reactive response could be in the moment, you pause, you take a deep breath, you notice the tension, and you choose a response. Maybe it's a supportive nod without taking on the emotional load or journaling about your own feelings later. This really is all about just giving yourself the tools to reduce unnecessary triggers where possible and respond intentionally when they arise. And by combining these two approaches, you can take control over your emotional landscape instead of letting it control you. So there you have it, 3 steps to help you work with your emotional triggers, identifying them, understanding them, and responding to them rather than reacting to them. It's not always easy and you won't get it right every single time. But remember, these triggers, they do not define you, and how you respond does. With practice, and trust me, this is an ongoing practice, you can take back control of your emotional responses and move through your day with more calm, clarity, and confidence. Triggers, they are just a normal part of being human, especially when you're juggling so many responsibilities as a single parent. They don't define you, they are not a sign of weakness, and we've all been there. That moment of feeling the shame for reacting in a less than perfect way, you're not alone in feeling that way. But these moments, they're opportunities to learn your patterns, understand your behaviours, and respond in ways that are more aligned with you and the person you want to be. We've explored how to identify your triggers, understand why they affect you, and found ways to both prevent them and respond intentionally when they happen. It isn't about perfection. Each time you practice noticing, understanding, and responding intentionally, you're reclaiming control over your emotional world. And that really is a powerful step towards parenting, working, and living from a place of strength and self-awareness. What's one thing you're going to do this week to care for yourself next time you feel emotionally overwhelmed? Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I really appreciate you coming along and giving yourself this 15 minutes just for you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please, if you could share it with just one other single parent, I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to hear more about the work that I do, be it the personalised one-to-one coaching or going into workplaces talking all about single parents, reach out to me. I'm on solacecoaching.com is my website. And you can also follow me on Instagram, it's @solacecoaching. And also I'm on LinkedIn, Orla Donahue. Until next week, look after yourselves.